Good evening. Welcome to Intel 454, Forecasting Terrorism. I'm your professor for the next 2 months, Rowan Sharma, and I hope this class both meets your professional and intellectual goals. Um, so what is this class? This class, again, is a class on forecasting terrorism. And what we're going to use intelligence to anticipate planned plots and planned attacks. This class will be very relevant to you if you work in the intelligence community, you work in law enforcement, you work as a first responder, and it's hopefully will force your thinking patterns to look at intelligence and specifically the WMD problem set in different ways. In this class, we're going to apply intelligence methods, specifically the ASAP method, which I'll talk about, or which is talk more about in the lesson, to the WMD problem set. And obviously, current news, most of you have probably been following on what's going on in Syria. This is very relevant. The questions come up. Does Syrian WMD present a threat? Not just a humanitarian threat, but a threat to the United States, a threat to our interests, a threat to our allies. That is something that this class is intended to answer, or intended to at least give you some sort of insight to think about these issues in a different manner. Just quick on what I expect from the class. So there's going to be 3 assignments. It's going to be a take-home exam, a short interrogatories list in week 6, and then a final 1,500-word paper on week 8. Most of you have done classes at American Public University before, so you should pretty much have an understanding of what it's like to write at a college level. If there are any issues with that, please let me know. But again, I'm looking for each one of these products is, again, a strong thesis, argument to back up your thesis, evidence that backs up your argument, and then what I do want are policy recommendations. Because again, you have to pretend that you're writing for some, whether you work at the municipal city level or you work at the federal level, you're writing for someone to make a decision on. So if you say something in one of our exercises, a sarin attack in New York, you're going to make recommendations. If you recommend to the mayor that the threat is worthy enough to close down Manhattan, you better have your ducks in a row, because that's a pretty big muscle movement, so to speak. So that's what I'm kind of looking for in your written products. In addition, there's forums. Everyone probably is familiar with forums if you've taken a couple of classes here. Please do the forums early. Do them sometime between Monday and Thursday so you can respond to them Thursday to Monday. Please, again, do them in depth so your classmates can respond. And I'm expecting actual thought process in the forums, not just willy-nilly things off the top of your head. So a little bit about myself. I currently work at the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, which is the DoD's counter WMD arm, so to speak. And DTRA does things from securing loose nuclear material to working with other countries to help reduce the threat from bio and chemical release from their countries. So that's where I work. I've worked as a contract analyst within the Department of Defense. I've worked as a Department of Homeland Security. If anyone wants to talk about jobs and working in the Beltway, I can give you some detail on that. But yeah, I've been around a little bit, and I was an Army officer for 7 years, so I can definitely sympathize with people who might be deployed overseas at this point. So again, the course. This is how the course is going to lay out, and I just want to actually give you a heads up. I'm not going to be doing it every week, but every couple of weeks I want to give a YouTube lecture or a little YouTube note like I'm doing now, so you see me and you get my guidance and you get my thought process behind. You get my thought process, and I'm not just a faceless person who updates on the forums. So here's you get a little bit of visual context. If you have a problem accessing YouTube or bandwidth, please let me know. But I'm going to try and go with this forum not every week, but probably every other week. So the course overview, we're going to start off next week with the ASAP methodology. We'll go in detail on what it is. You'll read the RAND article, what it is, why it's important, and how the intelligence community can use it. And from there, then we'll go into different aspects of the WMD problem set. We'll talk about modus operandi for WMD terrorism, what a terrorist has to do to actually execute an attack. We'll talk next about the domestic CBRN threat. Al-Qaeda gets the majority of attention when we're talking about WMD, but probably the greater threats are, and what we've seen on the case studies, are anthrax. We saw that domestic attack. We've seen Salmonella attack, domestic. That was a domestic terrorist organization. Shinrikyo, sarin attack for Japan. That was a domestic threat. So the domestic threat is something that doesn't get a lot of news attention, but it's probably a lot, in fact, it's not probably, it is a lot more worrisome than the international terrorist threat. And then we're going to talk about kind of the acquisition, which is probably the biggest hurdle for any WMD organization or any organization that wants to conduct a WMD attack. So what are the problems with terrorist acquisition? And then finally, we'll return to kind of the CALSA method, which is a methodology of looking at terrorism and terrorism-related incidents. And that will prep you for your final assignments. So again, overview, we look at intelligence analytical techniques, and if you don't know what they are, you need to be read up on them, and I have them on the lesson plan. And then we apply it to the WMD problem set. So that's what we're looking for in the class. I'll probably provide more detail next week, but yep, just wanted to introduce myself, and if there's any questions or issues, please let me know.